Hey up, guys. Welcome to the only place where you're going to get wrestling content from a blind person's point of view. This is Wrestling in the Dark. Today, not particularly got an actual subject. I just have some spare time and wanted to get something out. So, thought I'd talk about one of the biggest things that's happened in the last week and then maybe the biggest thing coming up this week. So, let's get started with Punk. CM Punk, Charles Montgomery Punk, back doing stuff to do with WWE. Made his debut on WWE Backstage last week, and the world has literally been abuzz ever since. Like, the wrestling world has not shut up about it, and now I'm contributing to that. So screw you, Mason. But it's just one of those things that I'm in a funny little situation with when it comes to Punk, because on one hand, Glenn showing me the pipe bomb was literally what got me into wrestling. Like, how cool he seemed and real and legit, and how good he was on the mic, it instantly drew me into everything. And so on one hand, that first initial year when I started watching around WrestleMania 28, when he was still champ, or everything leading up to the heel turn and facing Rock, I enjoyed that. It was the first year that I'd been watching, and I was just sort of getting used to how everything worked and deep diving into, trying to find out what moves were and playing the games, etc., etc. When he went away, it was like, oh no, what the hell? And I definitely was for the first, maybe 2 years or something, in with everyone else. It was like, when's he going to come back? Is he ever going to come back? And it's just slowly over the last few years, especially with everything that's happened in terms of, him having his arguments with Cabana, etc., maybe soured me on him a little bit as a person. And I got to the point where I was like, yeah, I'm not really bothered about it. I don't really care whether he comes back or not. In fact, if you'd have asked me a year ago, I don't know if I'd have said that there'd have been a place where he'd fit in, because I wouldn't have liked to have seen him in NXT at that point, and it really wouldn't have worked for him with a pre-taped aspect, etc., etc. I mean, can you imagine if they'd have tried to do a CM Punk return on NXT back in the day with how it was taped? So there's no way you could have avoided those spoilers, whereas in these days, with the fact that NXT is going head-to-head with AEW, they're the ones that are sort of officially fighting the war against AEW. I could definitely see him mixing it up in NXT now. People like Tommaso Ciampa, oh my god, how good would a feud with him be if he was to actually come back to the ring, which I'm sort of doubtful that he is going to. I think the fact that it's been made clear that he's a Fox employee, etc., just really shows that, okay, I'm not necessarily done with wrestling, but I don't want to be told what to do by WWE. If he came back to in-ring action, it'd be. I definitely think that it's got to a place now where there is a place for him. Like a year or so ago, I'd have been like, where would he even fit? Who would he face? But these days, there's just like at least 10 people sort of that he'd have good feuds with. And there's like I said, in NXT you've got Tommaso Ciampa and Matt Riddle, both of which should be pretty cool to see him go up against. You've got people like Drew Gulak, which would be pretty cool from a wrestling standpoint. Nakamura would be pretty awesome. Ricochet, Aleister Black, Big E even, I think, would be pretty cool. Like the New Day, with how merch orientated they are, etc. I think they could get some good stuff out of a feud with Punk. Cain Velasquez, what with having the USC connection, etc., etc. So there's a lot of people that he didn't even have the chance to, that weren't there when he left, that he could definitely have some really cool feuds with now. Not to mention, you can make my fantasy booking thing that I've always wanted a reality. It's, you've got more factions sort of springing up in WWE now, especially with this Survivor Series stuff going on. You've got Undisputed Era, you've got the OC. And I've always wanted to see sort of like a Ring of Honor one, so I think it'd be pretty cool to see, imagine if you could get Punk, Joe, Bryan, Owens and Zayn all in the same place, and I'm sure there's at least one more person that would have been in Ring of Honor sort of around when they were or whatever. I think that'd be a cool one. But even if he didn't come back to the ring, which I definitely I'm erring on that side, he will stick around, not going to be in the ring. I'd love to see a transition to commentary. You've got some massive names on the AEW commentary team in terms of Excalibur, Tony, and JR. And then you've not really got that punch power when it comes to WWE commentary. You've got Mauro Ranallo, who I'm sure, fight fans will be a fan of, but who I'd never heard of till they come to WWE. People like Nigel are really great because they have that in-ring experience. Same with Beth, where they can play up on stuff that they've been through. I've felt that Beth's insights into leg injuries when it comes to Dakota Kai and Tegan Knox, I found that really insightful. So I definitely think that ex-wrestlers fits really well. And can you imagine Punk on a commentary team now, like calling an NXT show with Nigel and Beth, or something like that? If Morrow got moved up to the main roster with Michael Cole or something. I hate calling it the main roster now. We need a different word for it. I know that they're sort of bringing it into kayfabe with the with the NXT thing, with this is the main roster, but we do need a different name. But yeah, I think him on commentary would work really well, just because you've got the fact that he obviously seems to enjoy being a fan more than he enjoys being in the ring these days. He's had commentary experience with the MMA fights that he's called. He'd bring something to the table that I'd really like to see. I could see it happening down the line too, especially if Fox's, the SmackDown ratings aren't the best. They might eventually want to sort of pop those ratings, and even though is not particularly working for WWE, Fox could maybe be like, look, right, we want this guy on commentary. So that'd be pretty cool, but I don't know who I'd want him with. On SmackDown, it'd be sort of cool to have him with Cole, but I don't think he'd have that good chemistry. And I wouldn't necessarily like to see him with Graves either. I don't feel like that'd work. I feel like they'd both sort of occupy the same space. That's definitely my favourite way that they could go with things if they put him on commentary. Film roles would be pretty funny too. That's just, I'm not even really serious with this one, but he's done his films now. He's got his little Girl on the Third Floor thing coming out. I don't think they're going to let him do anything close to the material that's supposed to be in that. I don't really know what it is, but I've heard people talking about jizz coming out of a light socket or something. That's the weirdest thing we've ever said on the podcast. But yeah, him in a movie role would be pretty funny in the WWE movies. It'd be pretty cool to see him as like some sort of Sherlock Holmes-esque detective that's getting like hired by other superstars to look into stuff. You got Dexter Lumis as like the villain / murderer or whatever that Punk's got to look into. Actually, I'd quite like to see, in terms of what I was saying about the factions, with you being able to do like the Ring of Honor one, I'd actually quite like to see him with Mustafa Ali and Ricochet. He likes comic books, and I feel like you could get this pretty cool anti-hero vigilante team out of them. I think that could be pretty cool. Punk and Ali could be beat cops in a WWE film together. That would be great. But yeah, there's so many different things that could happen with Punk now, and it was a really interesting week last week to see everyone like, oh my god, he's back, and now he's going to definitely wrestle. Which, if he didn't want that to happen, then he really should have thought it through before he decided to go on backstage, because if he thought that people wanting him to come back was bad before, people getting on Twitter like, when you get back in the ring, if that was bad before, then it's going to be even worse now, because now you're with something that yes, okay, people who are willing to look into that sort of stuff, who are online fans, etc., we know that he's employed by Fox, but there's going to be lots of people that are like, oh yeah, he's working for WWE again. So it was just really funny watching everyone run around like, oh my god, he's going to wrestle again, this is it, it's all happening. And then seeing people like Glenn who are just, slightly disappointed in it because it shows a little bit of hypocrisy on his part, possibly, and oh, the joys of me trying to record. It just cut me off for no reason whatsoever, but I can carry on and stitch it together, so it's fine. But I like telling you guys, I don't know why. Just insider information. But I'm sort of done with Punk. That's all I really wanted to say, is that I found it interesting that he was back. There's quite a few things that could happen. Commentary is definitely the thing that I would like to see happen more than anything, just because I want more ex-wrestlers to be commentators. Then moving on, then we've got Survivor Series coming up this weekend, as well as Takeover War Games, and this is going to be a massive weekend, isn't it? I'm really, really looking forward to it. This weekend should provide some awesome matches. I mean, you've got straight away, right off the top of my head, the one that really has really stuck with me is that AJ versus Nakamura versus Roderick Strong match. Oh man, that could steal the night easily. That's the sort of match that, when you're playing on the game, you're like, yeah, I'll do that, and I'll play as like AJ or whatever. Well, it's just such a really cool, fresh matchup that all three of those people are really cool. And there's not going to be anyone that I'm really backing up. I guess that I'm probably going to have to back Roddy up, just because he's the NXT contingent and I am NXT for life, baby. But yeah, AJ and Nakamura being in the same ring is always a good thing. Adding Roddy in there, that'll be awesome. Shayna mixing it up with Bayley and Becky should be really cool. The tag team stuff will be really entertaining. There's just going to be a lot of stuff, especially considering the whole weekend, if you take into account War Games going on as well, because I mean, the women's stuff that's been going on recently in NXT has been absolutely fantastic. All the stuff with the mystery attacker last week, as well as Kaylee Ray turning up, that was really cool, and I think they've done a really, really good job of building into this Takeover War Games / Survivor Series weekend. I'm sort of interested to see where it goes after this, because it's become so much about fighting the war against the different sides, fighting wars against people, Undisputed Era firing off against all these people that are coming for Cole's championship, and NXT as a whole sort of fighting the main roster, and the women going to war, and there's so many different things. It's built to a massive crescendo, and if NXT can do okay on actual Survivor Series night, then it should actually give them quite a bit of momentum, and it'll be interesting to see where they go from there, and like how long it'll be for the next takeover. Because if I'm right in thinking, by the old schedule, the next one would be sort of round Royal Rumble time, right? So they've got a few months to build to that, or a few months to build to the WrestleMania one, and they can do a lot in that time. It's going to be interesting to see whether after Survivor Series, the involvement that they've got with the main roster, whether that sort of peters out, or whether we still get this crossover with NXT people appearing on Raw and SmackDown. I feel like, oh man, if they weren't planning to do this, which I don't 100% say that they weren't planning on doing it before, but if this is all a direct result of that plane being delayed in Saudi Arabia, my god, that delay might have changed WWE completely, because they did the NXT invasion angle. Now it's sort of intricately woven with the main roster, and if they don't extricate themselves in the next couple of months, we could just see a situation where we forever get NXT people on the pay-per-views, especially WrestleMania. I can't see, now that they've raised NXT to this level, I can't see them not having at least one WrestleMania match, which should be a really good news, because I think they'll at least want to do the titles. Even if they don't do all of them, I think they'll at least want to do the men's and women's titles. So you'll definitely see Baszler if she's still the women's champ, and Cole if he's still the man's champ. And you'll definitely see them two on the WrestleMania card, I reckon. The NXT North American Championship, not particularly sure about that. I reckon that one will more or less stay one that just gets defended on NXT pay-per-views, but definitely the men's and women's titles, possibly the tag titles at some point. I could see being defended on Mania. Which, man, this next build after War Games to Mania or Rumble, whatever it is going to be absolutely insane. God, I'm dreading. You know what? I'm dreading Survivor Series. And it's like the start of this big, long stretch of pay-per-views that I'm going to really, really struggle to cover. Because you've got Survivor Series coming up, and I'm telling you now, I'm going to struggle with those Survivor Series 5-on-5s, which is now, like a 15-man match. There's going to be tags everywhere. Everyone can probably tag everyone, knowing the way that they do things. I can never remember with Survivor Series matches whether you can tag people that aren't your teammate or whatever. But yeah, that one's going to be really hard to cover. Then we got TLC coming up, and that one, whether I cover that or not, will be sort of dependent, I think, on how good the build for the main roster stuff is. Because I don't even know, I don't think I'd be watching Survivor Series if it wasn't for the NXT involvement. I sat out Hell in a Cell. I got up the next morning, I looked on Twitter, and it was like, oh, DQ finished Hell in a Cell, and I was like, yeah, I'll skip that one then, thanks. I watched Clash of Champions. I think that was the last main roster pay-per-view that I watched, but with having like 4 hours of wrestling each week now with AEW and NXT, and the fact that it takes me hours to record a podcast, something like this hasn't been too bad, because it's just a ramble. I just sort of came and sat down, pressed start, and just started talking to you all. But something like, the NXT versus AEW Super Review, that takes hours to record. Like, I'm talking actually hours. Like, last week I started at like 3:15 in the afternoon, and considering it was a 1 hour 8-minute episode, it took me until 6 o'clock to record, because between going back and checking my notes and then doing the next bit, and it's not like I can memorize the whole match either, so I have to like do 3, 4, maybe 5 notes if I can memorize that many, and then pause, then go check the next little section, come back, and it takes a long time. And it's going to be madness these next few pay-per-views with the Survivor Series and TLC, which should be mad because of all the stip matches. I think I'd struggle with the TLC match, although in all fairness, I didn't struggle with Mia and Io on NXT, so there's that. But Royal Rumble, that is going to be impossible to cover. I don't know how I'm going to do that one. I really don't know how I'm going to keep notes and how I'm going to cover it and make it interesting. Commentary will suck. Like, there's just no way in a match like that the commentary won't suck. I hate that guy with his motorbike. If you can hear him, I hate him. I really, really do. I don't pull out the H word very often, but I really do hate him. It's just, I've never had like the actual urge to go outside and shove someone over as badly as I actually have with that guy. Watch him be a subscriber. He absolutely won't be, but that would be great though, just listening to it. Hears himself starting up his body like, hey, he's talking about me. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really want to talk about. I just think that this weekend is going to be an absolutely cracking one. I wonder how it's going to match up to Full Gear, because it's so, all of it's so different because it's all so gimmicky. You've got like the War Games stuff going on in Takeover, and all the Survivor Series stuff going on, obviously, on the Survivor Series pay-per-view. You've not really got too many just traditional matches, which was more or less what Full Gear was, other than the Lights Out match. But then at the same time, it could really blow it out of the water, and it'll be sort of awesome if it does. The War Games, we'll see how that stacks up to. I mean, what's the closest competition AEW's got to that? It's like the Moxley Kenny match, and War Games won't be anywhere near that brutal, like not even a fifth. But I'm trying to think of matches that might add up to the matches from Full Gear that I really enjoyed, because I actually really enjoyed the Young Bucks, their match with Nick getting his leg injured and trying to fight through that, and the story they told with that. It was really simple. Cowboy Adam versus the Bastard was pretty entertaining, which was pretty funny considering that I don't really like Adam Page that much, but I'm starting to grow on him. Other than that, I'm not sure whether there was any matches that I was like, oh wow, yeah, like that was must watch, other than like the main event. I wasn't even that massive of a fan of the Jericho Cody match, but I'm trying to think. Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle. Oh god, that could be an absolutely cracking match. There's going to be penalty kicks everywhere, Pele kicks all over the place. Riddle's going to have to avoid so many sling blades. That's what you train for, right? Like, if you're going to go... You'd be sort of banking on the fact that Balor's not changed up his moveset. You're like, right, I've got to train for the sling blade. Because him and Seth, that's what they do. Like, when I watch a Seth match, he's like, sling blade, sling blade. Cole screaming it over and over again. But then at the same time, Riddle goes for that flash knee strike quite a lot, so if I was Balor, I'd be scouting that one out as well. But I'm not. It's funny because I'm not particularly sure what the actual singles matches other than that are, so I'm really interested. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this up because I don't have too much more to say, but I just wanted to talk about Survivor Series weekend and the whole CM Punk thing, and just put a little bit of something out today. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It might have been absolutely boring as hell, but you might have got some sort of enjoyment out of it. What do you reckon? You should let me know in the comment section whether you think War Games, you don't have to bring Survivor Series into it, but whether you think War Games will beat Full Gear. That'd be interesting. What would you like to see Punk do now that he's back in the WWE universe? And then maybe at some point we'll do like a list video, like the top 5 pitches of funny movie roles that we could put CM Punk in, because thinking of him as a Sherlock Holmes style detective trying to track down Dexter Loomis, who's like his Moriarty, is great. Same with the Mustafa Ali thing. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of that. And if you've enjoyed this episode, click the like button. Every interaction lets the YouTube algorithm know to like me that little bit more. You know where the comment section is. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's at Mason_WITD. Plus, if you want to say hi and have a chat, the Discord link will be in the description. Love you guys. I'm off, and you should have a good one.